Hi, I'm Dr. Michael Player and welcome to the StressLess webinar. So a little bit about me and why you might benefit from what I'll be sharing over the next 45 or so minutes. I'm a researcher at the University of Sydney where my research interests include topics around depression, anxiety, suicide, the way that we cope, men's mental health, and of course, stress. I'm also a clinical psychologist with a busy city practice, and I treat clients with many different things, but a lot of them are suffering from stress-related conditions. And so the name of this talk is StressLess, because it's something that we all need to do a little bit better. And it's also the name of a book that I wrote with my good friend Matthew Johnston. Now he's the creative one out of the two of us who illustrated all the beautiful images that you would enjoy through the webinar. So the main benefits of stressing less, well, you won't really know until you actually do it. You'll feel calmer, you'll feel you have more time and more space, enjoy more supportive relationships, and overall feel more satisfied with what you have right now. Does that sound good? So my aim today is to provide you with some good reasons to plan to do less, but you'll probably end up achieving much, much more. And then I want to invite you to take part in a truly innovative and truly transformative stress reduction and wellness training program. There's a major bonus at the end of the webinar, so please stick around. I think you'll enjoy what you see. Let's start with the problem. Now, stress is considered to be a major precipitating factor in almost all major diseases, with researchers estimating that up to 90% of primary physician or GP visits are caused by stress. Stress is also a factor in 5 of the 6 leading causes of death. So think cancer, think heart disease, stroke, respiratory disease, and of course, accidents. Unfortunately, stress comes with our birth. If you're alive, then you're going to experience stress. It's just part of the human condition. Now, time-limited stress is really useful. It literally helps us to fight or flee from the saber-toothed tiger, the woolly mammoth, or the marauding tribe. Stress actually provides the best internal bodily conditions for you to survive an external threat. So stress is a natural human response to pressure when faced with threatening or challenging situations. It's normal and can be beneficial to achieve. For example, in modern society, a little stress is useful. It can help you study for that exam, meet that deadline, and be punctual for that meeting. It keeps us energized and motivated to get things done. It helps us turn up and be on time. But it should only be temporary. It's for use in emergencies only, and your body should quickly revert back to its normal state once the stressor has gone. Here, while you're stressed, you need blood more for that fight or flight than you need it for digestion. You need a faster heart rate and higher blood pressure to pump more oxygen to your muscles so you can run from danger. However, if your stress response is chronically activated, damage will occur, and that will lead to physical disease and mental illness. Now, we live in the safest and most prosperous society in history. Even though it's hard to believe, this is the most peaceful period in history. We have faster cars, we have bigger TVs, and we have smaller phones. Yet we are the most stressed and unhappy we've ever been. How can that be? Well, our relationships and our ties to our community are much, much weaker. Human contact and friendship help alleviate anxiety, and we often ignore these for the second reason, is that we're more focused on goals such as money and fame and image, which are highly correlated with anxiety and depression. We're also sucking in much, much more information, and it's all alarmist. We live in a culture where fear is used to motivate us. We also have a negative thought bias, which means that we prefer to focus on negative potentials and not the good things that we have right now. We struggle with our unpleasant emotions and fight them rather than just letting them run their own course. We avoid situations that make us nervous. We try to bury uncomfortable feelings like anxiety and stress through distraction. Think internet, think shopping, think binge watching TV. And lastly, our expectations are too high of ourselves. Probably again because of the emphasis that we have in our society that you can be anything that you want to be and that you should be. So it's interesting that the things that cause us stress haven't changed. The top 5 causes of stress over the last 5 years are personal finances, family issues, our health, trying to maintain a healthy, balanced lifestyle, that's a stressor, and the health of others close to us. So these things aren't going to change, but meanwhile, our response to our stress does need some work. We have a lot of what we call numbing behaviors. So to manage our stress, 60% of us will drink alcohol, 40% of us will even smoke, and 31% of us will take recreational drugs. We also exhibit these externalizing behaviors as well, where 40% will either gamble or spend frivolously. Another thing that we do is what we call distraction behaviors. So that could be burying yourself in work and distracting yourself with other techniques such as internet, think Facebook, getting completely lost in technology. Is some of this looking familiar to you? And so with these unprecedented levels of stress, our poor coping mechanisms, what is actually happening to us? Well, unfortunately, the more stress you experience and the more often that you react with this negative thinking patterns and the type of behaviors that I've just mentioned, the more the stress pathway gets triggered. And over time, it gets triggered for lower and lower level events. And it begins to kick in when it really shouldn't. People get stressed out of their minds by missing a bus or spilling a coffee or even seeing a long queue somewhere. And it's never the event itself in isolation, but it becomes yet another thing that you have to attend to. And the stress pathway, like a muscle, is strengthened the more that you use it. And stress affects us, right? It affects us physically. We may experience headaches, we may have trouble getting to sleep, or we may wake up early in the morning with racing thoughts and have trouble getting back to sleep. It affects us mentally. We may have difficulties concentrating or focusing. We have memory loss. We may worry or think about a lot of worst case scenarios. It affects us emotionally. We'll experience tearfulness or sensitivity, anger, grumpiness, irritability, take your pick. Socially, we may avoid people. For example, we may cancel meetings or social outings, wanting to stay in bed and just hide away from the world. It affects us behaviorally through, we may miss meals, we may choose fluids because they're quicker, these breakfast shakes. We may even binge eat or binge drink after long periods of abstinence. So now our bodies are pretty smart and they tell us when there's a problem, but are we smart enough to listen to them? Often we're not, and that brings people to the point of stress and lead them directly into my office. Now, has anyone heard of the autonomic nervous system? Because stress really impacts upon the autonomic nervous system. Now, the autonomic nervous system basically controls all of our organs, regulating our internal functions. So think heart beating, think your blood pressure, think your lungs heaving in and out through respiration, think digestion, excretion, the works. Everything that you don't have to think about is basically run by the autonomic nervous system. So for autonomic, think automatic. Now, there are essentially two parts to the autonomic nervous system: the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system, which these two have a complementary or what we call antagonistic relationship. When one is on, essentially the other one is off or subordinate in the process. So the parasympathetic nervous system is where we want to be most of the time. This is the rest and recuperate mode in the autonomic nervous system and facilitates all the maintenance activities that occur when your body is at rest. This allows the body to repair and heal itself, which of course optimizes our health. Our aim should be to save the sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight, for the really special and frightening occasions. You can try, but you can never run away from stress completely. It affects the autonomic nervous system through hormones such as cortisol in the brain, which causes wear and tear on our body. Basically, chronic exposure to high levels of cortisol is really bad. It's bad for the body and it's bad for the brain. And it actually makes it harder to keep yourself out of more and more stressful conditions. And this is because you're more likely to create more of them for yourself. And that is by, overreacting to people, getting angry and nasty, or taking on initial tasks like I do just to get the people away from you. So as a way to help people monitor where they're at, we've developed the stressometer. See, it's a thermometer for your stress. Now, our best tool is knowing when you're at risk or when dangerous times are ahead. Here, you can plan for them by bringing in some cooling behaviors to keep the heat down. So let's look at this a little more closely. I want you to spend some time thinking about your heating behaviors. So make some notes about these right now. It could include things like drinking too much alcohol, working too late, poor sleep. These type of things will all heat up our stressometer. Next, I want you to think about what cooling behaviors you do or can do. Make some notes about these as well. It could be yoga, it could be meditation, swimming, a catch up with a friend, reading a book. These are all valuable ways to cool your stressometer. Monitoring your stress and then planning ahead allows you to know when you're at risk. And then that allows you to best plan to overcome your stressful experience. So now I'm going to teach you the best cooling behavior ever. Slow breathing is the best way to calm your stressometer. So you probably noticed before that when you're stressed, people will often tell you just to relax and take a few deep breaths. But in actual fact, the trick is to slow your breathing down and breathe into your belly rather than just breathe more deeply. Start by sitting upright in a comfortable position. Put one hand on your chest and the other on your belly. Now, when we're anxious or we're stressed, we're in the sympathetic nervous system and our breathing will become short, sharp and shallow. And a lot of the times we're breathing into our chest. Instead, we want to make a conscious effort to breathe in and out from our belly rather than just our chest. So when I'm breathing in, I'm pushing my hand out, 2, 3, 4, and then allowing it to fall back in again, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's in, 2, 3, 4, and then out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Notice what my hands were doing. The hand on my chest wasn't moving, whereas the hand on my belly was moving out with the in-breath and then in with the out-breath. Do this for the next couple of minutes, and as you do, focus on extending that out-breath at least 2 to 3 counts longer than the in-breath. You can start with 4 in or 6 and 7 out, or 2 in, 4 or 5 out, whatever is comfortable for you. And as you progress, you'll gradually learn to be able to lengthen and slow your breath further. And you'll also be directly activating the parasympathetic and deactivating the sympathetic. So you're turning off the stress response. Also note that if your mind is like mine, then it will start to wander. What am I having for dinner? Don't forget that email or to make that call, etc. Now, that's why it's really, really important to focus on the counting and also the movement of the belly. Okay,
And as with all my advice, I don't want you to just accept what I say. I want you to test it for yourself. So I want you to try this right now. I'm going to stop talking and provide some visual cues on the screen to lead you in on the breath in and out for those eyes open people. And for my closed eyes people, I'll play some music so you'll know how long to practice this technique for. Don't fast forward here, you won't know what works until you try.
So going over this all again, inhale and exhale through your nose if it's possible. And remembering a couple of things. Beware of your breathing rate. Slow your breathing down. Breathe into your belly rather than into your chest. And make sure that you exhale for at least 2 to 3 counts longer than where you inhale. So we've addressed the physical, and now I want to address the cognitive or the mental and tell you a way to avoid getting so stressed in the first place. Now, if there was one thing that I could cure the world of, it would be rumination. And here is how it gets a hold over us and causes us more stress. I want you to understand that we have two brain networks which we operate in. Firstly, we have the focused attention network, which is operating when we're having a present moment experience or being what we call mindful. Here, we're engaged in the present moment. We can solve a problem, savor an experience, or enjoy a game or play. Here, we are completely outwardly focused. On the other hand, the default mode network is like our autopilot. Now, I'll give you an example of what I mean. Have you ever driven home and got to the front door and not remembered a single part of the journey? Or you've got to the bottom of a page of a book, you're about to turn it and you couldn't recall anything that you just read. This is the default mode network. Unfortunately, we spend 50+% of our time in this mind-wandering state. Here, we weave stories, we imagine what ifs, and create this directionless dialogue pulling half-truths from different periods to spin a story which is negative to self and basically useless to all. Here, we're completely inwardly focused and we basically ruminate over the past and we worry about the future. To show how bad it is, researchers did a study where they measured 2,500 adults and it showed that people were much less happy when their minds were wandering than experiencing present moment awareness. Even daydreaming about pleasant topics didn't produce more happiness than just being in the moment. And being mentally present had 4 times the influence on how people felt, even over what they were actually doing. As I mentioned, we spend so much time in this mind-wandering state, and a ruminating brain is also predisposed to anxiety and depression, and we really want to avoid this. So we've already learned a little about this concept of neuroplasticity, and it's really important because the health of your brain tomorrow depends on the quality of your thoughts today. So make them about this present moment. So we need to connect with the here and now. And I want to share with you some of the things we know that assist with this rewiring of the brain. Firstly, understand that there are only 3 places that your mind can ever be: the past, the present, or the future. Now, when our minds are in the past, we're generally ruminating about things we've done badly. When our minds are in the future, we're worrying about things that haven't even happened and probably aren't likely to either. So in both of these places, our minds are overactive and our nervous system is over-aroused and, well, welcome to stress. So mindfulness brings our minds back into the present moment, where it can settle into I'm okay mode, which of course is the opposite of stress. So to enjoy the benefits of mindfulness, you don't have to sit in the lotus position under a Bodhi tree like a Buddha. You can just be present in all your daily actions. And hang around, I want to show you how to do that. Another simple way to rewire the brain for good is to take a few moments to note down what we have achieved or what we are grateful for over the past week. This is shown to improve our overall well-being as well as help us better cope with stress. Researchers found that when people do this, they feel better about their lives as a whole and more optimistic about the upcoming week. Examples can be things like, writing in a journal. Today I appreciated that I got to wake up in a warm bed. We can write a letter to someone that's had a major impact on our lives, such as someone that you would like to thank or someone who you appreciate having around. A third way could be to think of someone in your everyday world that you would like to say thank you. Trying to recognize the small actions that people do every day that might be overlooked, such as, a colleague who goes the extra mile or a friend that always seems willing to listen. Noting down 2 or 3 people in a short note on why you would thank them will help your overall wellness. One way to manage our emotional experience of stress is through practicing self-compassion. This is one skill that people just don't get. They think that being harsh on themselves will mean that they won't make that same mistake again. But all it does is create more stress and more mistakes. People who have learnt self-compassion treat themselves with the kindness and concern they would offer to others when they experience stress or negative events. So firstly, we want to remember acceptance. That it's human to make mistakes, we all do it. Secondly, we want to remember our common humanity. When we make a mistake, we miss out, feel rejected, we will all feel alone. But the truth is, everyone suffers at times and we're all in this together. Thirdly, we need to remember our mindfulness. This helps you to acknowledge the feelings that you're having right now, such as stress, sadness, disappointment, without letting them overpower you. Don't suppress them. It doesn't help. While we often focus on the mind, helping the body will always help us as well. I always say that the first 30% of our improved mental health comes from the physical. So, eat regularly. Don't skip breakfast. Eat a variety of foods. Make sure you drink enough water and take in some omega-3 oils as well. Everyone needs a good night's rest. This is a time when your mind can switch off and your body can repair itself. The problem is, when you're feeling stressed, sleep doesn't always come easy. So we need to practice sleep hygiene. Now, your body loves routine, and this is especially true for sleeping. Staying up late, sleeping in, and taking naps during the day can make the sleep much, much worse. Consider having a wind down routine before bed each night. Anything that helps you relax the mind or the body will make it easier to get to sleep. This could include having a warm bath or drinking something warm and non-caffeinated, reading something that isn't too stimulating, turning off tech, listening to some soft music, or using a relaxation technique, all of which that I want to teach you. Regular exercise is an effective way to reduce symptoms of stress, helping you feel healthier and stronger and increasing your ability to cope with additional stress. And when we're more active, we have more energy, we sleep better, we have better oxygen levels and blood flow. And this all increases our cognitive capacity and our ability to cope and think our way out of our problems. Research has shown that it can help reduce cortisol, improve your mood, being as effective as antidepressants for some type of mood problems, and improve your mental focus. When we're stressed, we withdraw and we say no to social invitations. And when we do this, we miss out on the increased happiness and positivity just from being in the company of others. And studies have shown that not having close friends is a significant health hazard, right up there with smoking or obesity. In fact, loners are 2 to 5 times more likely to get sick. And right now, as well as a pandemic, we're in a loneliness epidemic. 50% of people say that they are lonely. And in 2018, the UK appointed its first minister for loneliness. We need to regularly let our minds and bodies totally immerse itself in something that we enjoy. Taking our minds completely off the day-to-day worries is essential for restoring the mind's natural function. And these allow our minds to an opportunity to get back to neutral and recharge. It's like pressing Control-Alt-Delete on our brains. Putting aside time in our diary for breaks allows us to avoid burnout. When we're stressed, our minds are focused on survival and not thriving. And when we lower our stress response, we provide space for considered thought, ingenuity, and we can flourish. And taking time out can be as simple as a walk in the park or sitting at the beach, or even a weekend holiday away. These breaks provide us with the insight that not everything has to be focused in this one moment, and that there are lots of other positive things to look forward to. So people who make better decisions about their wellness have lower fatigue, they have improved memory, better relationships, greater focus and concentration, a greater ability to manage higher workloads with less stress, also exhibit greater self-care and self-compassion. So during this webinar, I've raised the problem of stress in all our lives. And I've tried to cover some of the things that you can do to reduce the damage from the persistent activation of your stress pathway. I've also included some options that will allow you to build new healthy brain pathways. But obviously there's a lot more to the story, and it will take most of us more than just 45 minutes to unlearn a lifetime of stress. So I've developed a special program which I call the StressLess Online Master Series to directly help everyone overcome all the major causes of their stress. I've spent a lot of time looking at the stress and coping research, but I've also spent a lot of time working one-on-one treating clients for stress. So I know what people will do and what they won't and what works in practice. And I believe this Master Series is different from every other approach out there helping with stress because of this very fact. It's not a one-size-fits-all. You're not all going to respond to the one treatment option. I make use of all my clinical training in giving you understanding and treatment options that will resonate with you. Each of the Master Series videos will include me examining and instructing on new concepts and treatments to help you overcome the stressors in your life. For instance, we'll cover things like the nature of the mind and how to hack the brain to give us more of the good chemicals and less of the bad ones. We'll learn to override our fear response, which keeps us stuck, miserable, and alone. We'll learn to be more efficient with our time and learn not to ruminate, worry, or procrastinate as much as we do. We'll also focus on mastering our health and wellness and improving our relationships, both professional and personal, which are a huge source of our stress. And no doubt, while we could all use some help for our stress, this program is not just for those with chronic stress problems. In each module, we'll learn some techniques to help you up your game and take you from just being alive to being alive and thriving, as we'll master and extend what you already have and what you can do. As a clinical psychologist, I've seen what works in the clinic and I know how to motivate people to make meaningful changes in their lives through what they do and how they think. So the StressLess Master Series is a comprehensive, multimodal approach to improve your overall wellness whilst specifically targeting stress management and improvements in the way you cope. I've basically provided workable solutions to all the causes of stress and unhappiness in our lives. Think health, finances, work, problem thoughts, relationships, everything. It's all here, it's all backed by hard science, but it's presented in a way that's easy for everyone to see and do. So whether you're at your absolute wit's end or you're looking to take your health to the next level, you'll benefit from my course. So here is a special deal for my webinar viewers. Whilst the video editing is being completed, I'm offering the whole package for $150 less than what it will later retail for. So that's just $149 US, but only for those who subscribe from this webinar. Now this content would take me months to get through in my clinic and would cost literally thousands of dollars in face-to-face time. Here, you're getting me take you through the best stress reduction and happiness building content and tools for less than the price of one-on session with me. So please act now for your health and also to save your wallet, because the price will be going up once the course is completed. Commit your interest right now and you're guaranteed this discounted price. If you have any questions at all, please reach out. I'm happy to answer these directly. My contact details will be at the end of the webinar. So I just want to check out how you are right now. How are you feeling? What did you find interesting about today's webinar? And can you name 3 things that you can do to lower your stress experience? Again, here's where to contact me for any information about the StressLess Master Series. Take the link and register your interest now for the special discount. You can also follow me at Michael Player Psychology on Facebook, on Instagram, Twitter, and also check out my YouTube channel. And finally, a shout out to my publisher, Pam McMillan, and my often collaborator and illustrator extraordinaire, Matthew Johnston, who created all the lovely images which featured in my work. Thanks to all of you for watching, and please keep safe and well.